Well, I have decided to pull the cover off of the transmission and take a look inside. And I already went ahead and took the liberty of dumping the oil out, as you can probably tell. The oil level actually, I should have videoed it too when I first took the cover off before I dumped the oil out. But it actually looked like it was just about full to the line or to the opening of the bottom housing there, which is kind of indicative to me that somebody must have previously serviced this transmission in the past and put new oil in. It definitely seemed like some sort of substitute oil, which I guess seemed to work, but then again, this machine always did sort of, when I would run it, it always sort of had a sound like it was dry. So what I am planning, I think what I'm going to do now is actually pull all the parts out and clean them, and clean the inside of the housing out of all the old oil as best as I can, and make sure that there's no, and I'm going to clean all the residue around here. Of course, a lot of that was like oil that spilled over from draining it out, of course, and whatnot. So I'm going to go ahead and pull all the parts out, everything out. I got my handy Harbor Freight snap ring pliers that I'm going to use, that I have set in the reverse, so that when you squeeze it, it separates the two prongs away from each other, which is what you need to take that seat clip that was out, or that was on there, out. And then this washer on top pulls right off. This spin here just pulls right up, then revealing the neutral drain parts underneath. So I'll go ahead and pull all of the neutral drain pieces out. I don't think we need to really change these, because the neutral drain, as you saw in the first part of the video when I tested it, still works absolutely flawlessly. And in fact, it doesn't even take that many strokes of agitation to get it to reset for neutral drain and hold in neutral drain without slipping into spin. I need to find the right size Allen key to remove this screw, which happens to be the first one I picked, so that's handy. I just have them sitting on a paper towel at the moment so that they're off the dirty ground at least. And this neutral drain plate should just pull right off like that, which you can see in the light. It's got oil all over it, but it still works. This should just pull right off. In fact, the whole thing pulls off. Imagine that. Like so. And this connecting rack gear pulls right off. Just like that. Along with this jaw clutch, or whatever it's called. And then this entire agitator shaft should just lift out of the hole like that, out of the pinion or whatever. And then this drive gear, this main, which, as you can kind of might be able to see, is spun. If you've never seen the inside of one of these before, the main input shaft turns into like a worm gear, which spins and drives. There's teeth underneath this gear on the bottom side that mesh with this, and that transfers power to the rest of the parts. Usually in these transmissions, there's usually a metal magnetic disc and a ball that you're supposed to pull out as well. I mean, usually when they pull these transmissions apart, that's what they do anyway, I guess. But and I have one of those tools. So this is the tool that I'm going to use, and normally it's a pickup tool or whatever, so it should, if there is something in there, it might. It may work, it may not. Actually, in fact, I'm not sure. I can't really tell. I don't think there is anything in there. I guess this one's old enough. Before they started implementing those. But now, otherwise, all of the drive parts are removed, so we can go ahead and I'm going to take a rag and kind of wipe out some of the oil and excess and drain it out as best as I can, and then go through and clean the parts individually as best as I can. So yeah, and I'll come back when that's done. Well, it is a few days later, and I've got a couple special deliveries today, so we're going to open them up. One of them, as you can tell, it says washer pump, so we'll go ahead and open that one first. This is a cheap aftermarket brand pump. It's not an OEM part. It was $10 on eBay. So I figured, what the heck, you know. It's seems to be in good shape so far. You can see that. There's no markings really anywhere on this one because it's an aftermarket part again. Appears to be decent anyways. It's not OEM, but I'm sure it'll work though. The impeller seems to be in place and spins fairly freely, like it should, so that's good. So it's not like it was packed in that much, which kind of sort of to be expected of eBay. So, and then we have this pack of, which you'll see here in a minute. Get this open. There we go. It's a 5-pack of motor couplers. These are Supco brand, and I bought this on eBay in bulk for about $13-14, which isn't too bad of a deal. Usually about $5 a part, or a piece anyway. And these are the non-metal reinforced ones, which, you know, to me, I kind of think they're a fail-safe for the transmission, so they don't really need to be metal reinforced. In some rare cases too, I've seen, like on the XJ81X's Kenmore, the metal reinforcement ring on his, it actually rounded out the shaft, not only the shaft of the insert of the metal on the coupler, but it also rounded out the motor shaft. So, and if that happens, then that means, you know, both a new coupler and a new motor are in order. So I think this will work and do the job what it needs to do. It's not, you know, It's not like a commercial grade coupler with the where the middle piece is like made out of some sort of, like, I don't know, Kevlar material or whatever it is. This is, I think, it's just a regular rubber isolator motor coupler. So we'll open this one up, take a closer look at it, and you know, it's your standard typical motor coupler design. I think these are a little bit cheaper. You know, they're built to fail before the transmission does, which, you know, you'd be out $100-200 for a new transmission if that were the case otherwise. And then this, yeah, this is just a regular rubber isolator coupler, so it just fits together like that, which will get this machine, you know, another few years of service, I'd say. So, which should be plenty, in my opinion. So, I mean, you know, if it gets more, you know, more than that, great. But this is something I got, and I got, you know, 5 of them in bulk because I figured it was a good deal, in case any one of my other machines needs it down the road, which I'm sure won't, you know, it's the 92 machine is pushing, what, it's 31 years old now, unbelievably. So and when I had it apart, the coupler on that still seemed to be in decent shape overall. I didn't see any cracks anywhere in the finger pieces or in the coupler isolator itself. So I think, you know, it's got another few years left on it, I'd say, at least. But when it does go out, you know, I have a few more on hand, for, you know, should the need arise. And then as far as this, this should serve its purpose. And for reference too, here's the old drain pump. I'm always going to be more of a fan of this style drain pump, the older gray style drain pumps. To me, they have a much more, I don't know, the sound they make is just much more, I guess, memorable to me, more nostalgic. And it's that old direct drive drain pump sound, which I've always loved. So, why there is such a difference in the sound between the two, I'll probably never know. Maybe it's, you know, has to do with the material or the diameter of the ports. I have no idea. Or the impeller itself. And by the way, here's the, I don't know if in case I didn't show it earlier, here's what the impeller of the old pump looks like. It's rubber, so it's flexible. And then the impeller, I don't know if I'll be able to get a good shot of the camera. You can sort of see in there, it's basically the same thing. It's a black rubber impeller. And then, you know, again, the shaft port of that. If I'm bumping the camera or whatever, it's because I have them mounted on my light stand, so I'm bumping the light, which is making it move, so my apologies there. But anyway, so yeah, those are the new parts to get this machine up and running. And then I actually have one more part that I also found out will need replacing, which is probably the reason or cause as to why this machine's been leaking oil, slinging oil out of the transmission. This transmission top cover seal right here, which I just pulled out of the cover, and I'm soaking that in some kerosene to get the grime and grease off of that for a little bit. Probably have to pull it out though before it starts thinning the paint off of it. But that's the seal that sits in the cover, the top cover of the gear case, where basically the clutch would be sitting on top of that. You know, I posted this on automaticwasher.org, and people are saying there that that this seal is most likely the reason why it's slung out oil. And I think Sharky626 also made a comment a while back on one of my older videos of this machine, saying the same thing, that it's this clutch seal that's probably gone bad. So I'm gonna order a new one of those and put that in, and hopefully that takes care of the oil slinging issue. So I'll see what I can find for that and get one of those ordered up. It also has, I noticed it has a little spring inside there, which I guess holds tension on the bottom of that, where there's a lip inside of there. So it would sit on this, on the inside of this, or on, rather around this inside lip, to put tension on that. So just thought that was interesting. Well, here's the old seal. As you can see, I had to use a screwdriver, kind of break it out of there, so it's far too gone now, beyond repair. But the new seal just came in today, so my dad helped me put that in, and we got her seated in there. We had to use a little bit of Vaseline to get it, help get it in there easier. And I'll bring it over here where you can see it better. So she's in, as you can tell. It's a little bit different in that it doesn't have this extra lip on the top here like this one. This would have been the underside where the oil would have been, and this would have been like this, sitting in there. That's probably a feature of that era for that part number. You can't really get that part number though, however, anymore. You're kind of stuck with what they make now, which is a newer substitute number for that, which works. I mean, it does what it's supposed to. It's, your only concern is sealing the gap between the lip here, where it seats in there, and where it sits around the gear, which, and I sort of tried it briefly on this gear right here, and it's very tight. I'll probably have to put some, just a little bit of Vaseline there on the inside just to seat it a little bit easier, because you don't really want to do that otherwise and damage the seal without it. So, but otherwise, that's finally in. We can install, we can reassemble all the parts in the transmission back together, and get the transmission filled with new oil, put this cover back on, seal it. I got the gasket maker right here for that. Permatex, which you can get anywhere. And we'll be sure to do it inside the screw holes so we get a good seal. Now it is time to reassemble the transmission. So the first thing we'll do is reinstall the agitator shaft and cam assembly. That just slides in like that. This little U, which sticks out, slides right over. On this particular transmission, it slides over this little pinion right here. And I know on the newer variants, the stop for this was essentially built into the transmission on either side here. But this is an old enough transmission where it's it only has the pinion inside in the slot here. So The now that that's in, next would be the main drive gear, which will blow off real quick. I call this the moon gear because, as you can see, half moon gear, I guess, if you want to call it. But that's what I refer to it as anyway. Other people, I'm sure, have different nomenclatures for it and all that, all those other $9 college words. That slides there like that, and it meshes with that worm gear. Then this rack retainer gear, which lines up, it goes, I believe, this way. I think, yeah, because it has to push that down, and it'll line. Everything will line up kind of as you set it in. If I said that was the rack retainer, then excuse me, because this is the rack retainer gear or whatever. This would be considered the shift actuator piece, and that slides over like this. This goes on this side, slides on like so, and then it meshes in the middle of these teeth on the agitator gear, which you have to kind of finagle by turning the transmission shaft as you go. And you want, so on this one, it's old enough to where it only has, it doesn't have the two marks on these teeth here that mesh with the one in the middle. It has rather a circle right here, if you can see where my finger's pointing. Hopefully if I'm not in the way. Right there where my finger is. There's a small little like pinhole dot on that, on this assembly right here that lines up with that. So once you can figure out where that goes and line those up, it should turn like this and mesh with those gears like so as you turn the motor coupler, if you have a motor coupler on your shaft. If not, then you just turn the transmission shaft, and each teeth lines up where it's supposed to, so that tells you that we're on the right track. So we'll kind of leave everything there. And on that shift actuator piece, it has those prongs that stick out and they kind of go down like that. You want to make sure those are facing down and not up, because that's what pushes on the cam piece here under the agitator gear to engage and disengage the agitator. Then from there, I believe it's just a matter of reassembling the neutral drain kit. Just want to make sure these parts are as clean as they can be. The problem I have with cleaning these off with rags is that they leave behind a lot of like they leave behind a lot of little tiny fibers that you can't hardly see. You know, it just, I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about that mixing in with the parts and the oil and stuff once everything's finally back together. But you know, maybe it won't be a huge deal. So this sits on the connecting gear like that, and there's a hole right here which lines up with, if you can see, the hole right here on this moon gear where that goes, and then the set screw. So this set screw sets in like that, and you'll screw it down, and use the long end of the wrench to get it most of the way in. Go ahead and put the rest of the neutral drain parts in. So pieces like the latch and the spin pawl and the trip lever go in next. So this piece is called the latch. It's weighted on this end, and one of the key things to note about these pieces, this piece here in particular, is it has, you'll notice right here, it has a little hook right here that would grab onto what could be referred to as a cam, or in some cases I've seen it referred to as a tang, because it's like a catch for this basically, that rides on the hub, the under hub of the spin gear, which I'll show you here in a moment once I get all these pieces in. And all these pieces, by the way, have have words on them that say up. So when you go to put these in, always look for that word on these pieces so that you know which orientation they go in. And this one has like a little nubbin on the underside here, or it's here, sorry, that goes in this round hole, goes on that post. Make sure the spring fits on this side of the metal tab right there, and seat it all the way down, and it should sit like that, and you should be able to spring it back and forth like that. Make sure that nubbin catches on this hole, because if it doesn't, then it'll sit like that, and you don't want that. So make sure that spring is catching and it'll sit nice and springy like that. And then the same thing with this piece, it has the word up on it that you want to look for. So in this case it'll sit like that, and that little tail will catch on that metal tab like so, and it'll sit just like so. And then after that, we'll put the spin clutch gear, which looks like this. It's a smaller metal gear which slides on the agitator shaft like that, and just sits down until it just stops like so, and it should just freewheel like that. And then the spin gear, which has this tang, which I was telling you about, which, if you can tell, it's spring loaded, so it has tension on it, but it when these pieces like this and this catch on the teeth here on this piece, it'll freewheel on the hub of the spin gear like so. And that plays a key role in providing the neutral drain mechanism for the direct drive transmission. This piece sits on here, and you'll have to mesh it with the teeth on this clutch gear like so. And everything, you'll have to twist it and turn it. You might have to mess with the transmission shaft as well, turn it as you seat it onto the hub here. You'll just have to kind of turn it until it locks, until it sits down like that precisely. And then once you you can test it real quick, make sure it works. So with that being said, now we can put the retainer washer and snap ring back on. There isn't an orientation this needs to go necessarily. It just sits on top like that. And then, sorry for bumping the camera, but this, I don't think this has an orientation. It goes an up and down orientation. It goes either. It just sits on like this. But it would help to, if you have a pair of pliers like this, to essentially pull this apart as you squeeze the handles, so it would kind of go on like that with some assistance, of course, and locks in like so. It's time to go ahead and pour the oil in. So I did a little bit of turn testing by hand just to make sure everything shifted and functioned correctly, and it seems like it does. So we'll go ahead and put the oil in. It should probably work smoother, much more smoothly with once the oil is poured in. So this is NAPA brand. It's just synthetic gear oil. You know, it's 80 weight. It's not exactly to spec, but I think it should work as a substitute. Plus, I think that's all they had there anyhow. Maybe I should have cut the nozzle a little bit larger than that, because that's going to take a while. Pour it all over the parts here so they get some oil on them. Pour it all over this guy so he's not left out. Okay, that's about to the level of the housing. So we'll kind of let the parts soak those in and turn it some more here. Oh yeah, and already it's much smoother, the action. Okay, now we can go ahead and apply the gasket. So I went ahead and loosened this out so it's ready to go. And we'll be careful not to apply it so thick, but we also want a nice bead around that entire rim there, and be sure to do it on the inside of the screw holes so it doesn't leak through the screw holes when you go to put it back. Just let that be. There we go. Okay, we'll just kind of go around and sort of thin it out a little bit so it's not too overly thick, because we just don't really want it getting in the oil is the thing. So before you install the top cover, probably be a good idea to add a little bit of grease on the inside of this seal so that it'll be easier to slide onto this gear. So once you've done that, then we can go ahead and take our cover, and the gasket is applied, so we can put our cover back on like so. Should slide over the gear like that. Line up our screw holes, 5/16 socket nut driver. Put our screws back in. Go through once over. Make sure they're tightened all the way. If you have a ratcheting wrench too, probably one of those make it easier to go through and really tighten it. But okay, now the cover's on. Okay, transmission is fully reassembled back together. So one thing we can go ahead and do now, I guess, is put the clutch back in place. Just goes in. I did clean it too, in case I didn't already show that. But if I did, then you know, whatever. That slides over on down like so. This one, normally these clutches would have like a plastic. Sorry, it's out of view there. They would normally have a plastic piece that sits on the bottom here. And this one doesn't have that, but it didn't have that originally anyways, but you know, it seems to be fine without it. So in any case, I'm just going to go ahead and put it back on. This retainer spring clip, which slides on like that, and this little prong sticks down when you put it in. that goes in. So if I can turn it here to show you, it goes in this little hole right here, which then you kind of work it in little by little as you go along here. It's all kind of held in by pressure, so kind of be careful you don't. Let's see, I'm gonna need to kind of do this carefully. Not to hurt myself. There we are. And now clutch is secure in there, and then this this little C shape, I don't know if you call it a C clip or not. I guess you could technically. There's these like slots on the shaft which you can, I don't know if you can see from the angle you're at, but where my finger is, you'll see them when you do, when you look at it closely. But these prongs on that kind of sit in like that, or they insert there and just snaps into place like so. And that's just some extra assurance to hold everything in place. And then lastly, but not leastly, this thrust washer goes down, and then and you'll notice it has a, I don't know if I can get that in view for you or not, but it has a little, if you can focus, has a nubbin right there which goes downward, and usually I think it goes into this slot right here on this C clip, like so. And there you go.